Tonight, we are going to explore ideas so dangerous they were once said to drive men mad, but they also promise a profound, terrifying freedom. These are the thoughts that wait for you in the deepest quiet of the night, the ones that whisper just at the edge of sleep. As your body settles, as the noise of the day fades and your breathing slows, allow your mind to drift into the world of Friedrich Nietzsche. You don't need to fight these concepts. You don't need to solve them. Just observe them as they pass by like clouds. This is not a lecture. It is a descent. What if the calm you feel right now, this quiet space you are in, is the perfect state to confront the philosopher who used a hammer to break every truth you were ever told? The phrase that haunts modern history: God is dead. It lands in the mind not as a gentle proposition, but as a crack of thunder. It is perhaps the most famous and most violently misunderstood sentence in all of philosophy. When you hear it, you might picture a militant atheist spray painting a slogan of victory on a cathedral wall. You imagine triumph. But this is not what Nietzsche meant. It was not a celebration. It was a diagnosis, a tremor. He was not the murderer. He was the one who arrived at the scene of the crime and found the body. He was the first to feel the cold creeping in. To understand it, you must see it as he wrote it. He did not say it in his own voice. He put these words into the mouth of a madman, running through the marketplace in the bright light of morning, carrying a lantern. The madman cries, "I seek God. I seek God." The others in the marketplace who did not believe laughed at him. Has he lost his way? One mocked. Is he hiding? Another jeered. Is he afraid of us? The madman pierced them with his eyes. "Whither is God?" he cried. "I will tell you. We have killed him, you and I. All of us are his murderers." This is the context. Not joy, but horror. Nietzsche was announcing that the idea of God, the single central idea that had served as the foundation of Western morality, meaning, and purpose for 2,000 years, had lost its power. It had crumbled. It was no longer a believable source of ultimate truth. And who killed him? We did. Our own science, our own relentless pursuit of logic, our own rational mind. We examined the foundations of our faith and found them hollow. We looked to the heavens for a moral law and found only space. We created a world where God was no longer necessary. Nietzsche painted a chilling picture of the consequence. He asked, how could we drink up the sea? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the entire horizon? He described humanity as a planet unchained from its sun. Imagine that. You are on a small sphere, floating. For all of history, you knew which way was up, which way was down. You revolved around a massive central star that gave you light, warmth, and direction. And now suddenly, the chain is broken. You are drifting. Which way is up? Which way is down? Are we not plunging continually? Backward, sideward, forward, in all directions? Is there still any up or down left? We are drifting through an infinite, cold, dark space. This is the feeling he wanted to capture, the terror of absolute freedom, the disorientation of a world without a center. We are living in the shadow of this event. He called it the greatest event of our time, but he said the news had not yet arrived, that the deed was still on its way, wandering. It takes time for the light of a dead star to stop reaching our eyes. You can feel this void in the air of the modern world. You see it in the desperate search for something to believe in, whether it's a political ideology, a new age spirituality, or the worship of productivity itself. We feel the nothingness that he called nihilism. If there is no ultimate judge, no divine plan, no inherent meaning, then everything is permitted. Nothing matters. This is the abyss. This is the uncanniest of all guests standing at the door. Nietzsche did not celebrate this death. He feared it. He saw it as a catastrophe, a hollowing out of humanity, but also, just maybe, an opportunity. The death of God means the ultimate prepackaged meaning is gone. The meaning given to you from the outside is gone. But it also means you are finally, terribly free to create your own. The advent of the Overman. So the foundation is gone. The center did not hold. We are adrift in a cold, meaningless cosmos. What comes next? Do we simply give in? Do we embrace the void, the nihilism? Do we become what Nietzsche called the last man, a creature that seeks only comfort, safety, and shallow happiness? A passive, blinking, content animal with no great desires, no great risks, and no great purpose? This was his greatest fear, that humanity, faced with meaninglessness, would simply shrug, invent a new form of trivial happiness, and wait for its own quiet extinction. No, that was not his answer. His answer to the terror of the void, his response to the death of God, is not a new God. It is not a new religion. It is a new kind of human. He called it the Übermensch, the Overman. This is not a political figure. It is not a dictator or a master race, as it was so horrifically distorted and abused in the century after his death. The Overman is not a ruler of others. The Overman is the master of himself. It is a psychological state, a spiritual goal. It is the human being who can stand on their own 2 feet without the crutch of divine morality and create values. The Overman is the one who can look into the abyss of meaninglessness and, instead of falling, build a bridge across it. To explain this journey, this internal transformation, he gave the parable of the 3 metamorphoses of the spirit. He asks how the human spirit evolves to reach this state of creative freedom. First, he says, the spirit must become a camel. The camel is the spirit of duty, of reverence, of bearing. It is the thou shalt spirit. The camel kneels down in the desert and asks, "What is my heaviest burden?" It wants to prove its strength. It takes on all the old values, the rules of society, religion, and tradition. It is strong, patient, and obedient. This is the human bound by traditional morality. Many people live and die as camels, strong in their service, but never free. But the camel, carrying its heavy load, wanders into the loneliest desert, and there, it transforms into a lion. The lion is the spirit of rebellion. The lion is the sacred no. It confronts the thou shalt dragon, a beast whose scales are made of every rule ever written. The camel said, "I must," but the lion says, "I will." The lion must fight this dragon to win its own freedom. It destroys the old values. It clears the space. It is a necessary act of violent liberation. But a lion, for all its destructive strength, cannot create. It can only say no. It cannot build a new world. So in the final, most difficult transformation, the lion must become a child. Why a child? Because the child is a new beginning. The child is innocence. It is a sacred yes to life. The child doesn't know thou shalt or I will. The child simply is. The child plays. It creates. It spins its own world from its own will, like a wheel rolling of its own accord. The child is the creator. This is the Overman, the one who has the strength of the camel to bear hardship, the courage of the lion to destroy what is false, and the creative innocence of the child to build what is new. We are all stuck somewhere on this path. Most of us are camels, burdened by guilt and duty, afraid to question. Or we are lions, angry and rebellious, but defined only by what we are against. We are terrified of becoming the child, terrified of the absolute, joyful responsibility that comes with creating our own meaning. The Overman is the one who embraces this life, this earth, not some promise of an afterlife, but the soil beneath your feet. The Overman finds meaning in the struggle, in the growth, in the process of becoming. It is the artist of their own life. It is not a destination you reach. It is a direction. It is the invitation to stop being a creature and start being a creator. The Overman is the one who looks at the total chaos of existence and does not shrink from it, but instead sees a canvas and begins to paint. The will to power. What truly drives you? If you were to dig beneath all your desires, like an archaeologist of your own soul, if you scraped away the surface layer, the desire for money, or for a new home, or for a partner, and then you dug deeper, past the desire for respect, or for love, or for knowledge, if you kept digging, past your political beliefs, past your personal ambitions, past your fears, what is the engine at the center of it all? Freud would say it was pleasure. Adler would say it was a drive for significance. But Nietzsche proposed a different, universal force. He called it the will to power, der Wille zur Macht. Now these three words have been poisoned. They are perhaps even more misunderstood than God is dead. When you hear will to power, you immediately think of tyranny, of brutality, of the desire to dominate others. This is a gross, simplistic, and often weak expression of it. For Nietzsche, the will to power is the fundamental drive of all life. Not just human life, but all of it. It is the intrinsic drive in every living thing to expand, to grow, to overcome obstacles, to express its full potential. It is the drive to discharge its strength. Think of a seed buried in the dark, cold earth. It does not just want to survive. It must break the soil. It must reach for the sun. It must expend all its energy to become a tree, pushing against gravity, against the wind. It is affirming its own power against the weight of the world. A river doesn't just flow passively to the sea. It carves the canyon. An artist doesn't just paint. They impose their vision, their will, onto a blank canvas. This is the will to power. Nietzsche saw this force everywhere, in the philosopher trying to impose his meaning on the chaos of the world, in the scientist trying to master nature's laws, and yes, in the tyrant. But most importantly, he also saw it in the saint, in the ascetic, the one who masters himself, his own impulses, his own body. Nietzsche saw this self-mastery as the most refined and powerful form of this will. The great conflict, the great paradox of our time, is that we have been taught to see this will as evil. He argued that our morality, the Judeo-Christian morality that shaped the West, was a slave morality, a morality created by the weak, the resentful, the oppressed. Because they could not express their will in the world, they transvalued the values. They called their own weakness goodness and humility. They called the strength of the powerful evil. They created the concept of guilt to poison the strong, to make them feel bad for their own strength, for their own joy, for their own natural drive to live and create. We are afraid of this will within us. When you feel a surge of ambition, a desire to create something new, to change your life, to build something from nothing, that is the will to power. When you choose to run a marathon, to learn a new language, to master your own mind, that is the will to power. To embrace it is to stop apologizing for your own existence. It is to stop seeing life as a debt you must repay. It is to understand that life is not about finding happiness or avoiding pain. Life is this will. Life is about the feeling of overcoming. It is about the feeling of growth, of expansion. It is the engine that drives the Overman. It is the force that turns the camel into the lion, and the lion into the child. The will to power is not a choice. It is the definition of life. The only choice is how you will express it. Will you express it crudely, by trying to dominate others? Or will you express it nobly, by mastering yourself? The eternal recurrence. And now, we come to the heaviest thought, the most terrifying, and perhaps the most beautiful of all Nietzsche's ideas. He did not introduce this as a fact. He called it the heaviest weight, das schwerste Gewicht. It is not a scientific theory of the universe. It is a question, a thought experiment, aimed directly at your soul. He asks you to imagine this. What if a demon were to creep into your loneliest loneliness? Perhaps in this very moment, in the deep quiet of the night as you lie here, and say to you, this life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live it once more, and innumerable times more, and there will be nothing new in it. But every pain and every joy, every thought and every sigh, every small and great thing in your life must return to you. All in the same succession and sequence, even this spider, and this moonlight between the trees, and even this very moment, and I myself. Imagine that. Truly imagine it. Your entire life as a film. You have just finished watching it, and now you are told you must watch it again, and again, and again, forever. Every mistake you ever made, every awkward conversation, every moment of profound failure, every humiliation, every heartbreak, every physical pain, from a stubbed toe to a chronic illness, every single second of boredom, but also every genuine moment of joy, every sunrise that made you stop, every quiet victory, every time you laughed until you couldn't breathe, every moment of true unselfish connection. Nothing changes. Nothing is removed. You cannot fix the mistake. You cannot skip the boring parts. How would you react? Nietzsche says most of us would throw ourselves to the ground and gnash our teeth, cursing the demon. This is the ultimate burden. It reveals with brutal honesty how you truly feel about your life. Do you see it as a prison, a series of random, meaningless events that you just want to end? Are you living a life that you would not wish to repeat? We live for the future. We are always telling ourselves, I'll be happy when I get the job, when I find love, when I retire, when the weekend comes. We endure the present. We sacrifice now for a later that may never come. Or we drown in regret, endlessly replaying the past, wishing we could change it. The eternal recurrence is a philosophical hammer that shatters both. It destroys the future, because there is no new future, only this one. Again, it destroys the past, because you cannot change it, only relive it. It forces you, violently, into the present moment. This is the ultimate test for the Overman. This is the ultimate yes to life. Would you be able to say to that demon, you are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine? This is the true meaning of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate, to love your life so completely, to affirm every single second that you would will to repeat it, exactly as it was, forever. This thought becomes a guiding principle. It is no longer just a question. It is a command. It whispers to you in every decision you make. Live in such a way that you would want this moment to return. Do not live your life as if you get a second chance. Live this moment as if it is all you have, and all you will ever have, forever. Amor Fati, the love of fate. You have just heard the heaviest weight, the idea of eternal recurrence, the thought that you might have to live this exact life with every pain and every joy, over and over, forever. Your first reaction might be despair, a feeling of being trapped. But Nietzsche offers an antidote, a formula for greatness in a human being. It is just two words: Amor Fati, Latin, the love of fate. It is a simple concept, and yet it may be the most difficult psychological discipline one can ever attempt. It is not just acceptance. It is not passive resignation. It is not gritting your teeth and dealing with it. It is not saying, oh well, it is what it is. That is the response of the camel, merely bearing its burden. Amor Fati is an active, joyful love for everything that happens. It is the desire, the will, that nothing be different. Not in the past, not in the future, not for all eternity. It is to not merely bear what is necessary, but to love it. Think about your life. Think about the things you regret, the job you didn't get, the relationship that failed, the mistake you made years ago that still makes you cringe in the quiet of the night. We spend so much of our energy in a state of war with reality. We wish things were different. We poison our present moment with the resentment of a past that cannot be changed. This is the source of so much of our suffering. We are fighting a battle we can never, ever win. Nietzsche asks, what if you stopped fighting? What if, instead of just accepting, you embraced it? He asks you to see your life not as a series of accidents and errors, but as a perfect, necessary story. Every no you received, every door that closed, every moment of suffering was a necessary step to bring you to this exact moment. If you were to remove a single failure, a single regret, you would unravel the entire tapestry. You would not be the person you are now. Imagine an artist painting a masterpiece. Does the artist regret the dark colors? Does the artist wish the shadows were not there? No. The artist knows that the shadows are precisely what give the light its meaning. The darkness is what defines the form. Amor Fati is the decision to become the artist of your own life and to see all of it, the dark, the light, the pain, the joy, as essential. This is the ultimate expression of the will to power. It is not the will to change the world outside. It is the will to change your relationship to the world. It is to say to the universe, give me whatever you have. I will not just endure it. I will not just survive it. I will love it, for it is my life. This is how the Overman answers the eternal recurrence. When the demon presents the endless loop, the Overman says, yes. Yes to the pain, because it forged strength. Yes to the failure, because it taught wisdom. Yes to the loss, because it created depth. This is a terrifying freedom. It means there are no excuses. You cannot blame the past. You cannot blame your circumstances. You are no longer a victim of your life. You are the co-creator of its meaning. In this state, you become one who says yes to life. You no longer look away from the ugly, the chaotic, the painful. You see it as part of the whole, and you affirm the whole. As you lie here, feel the weight of your own past. Feel the regrets and the if-onlys rising up. Do not fight them, just observe them. And then, in this quiet moment, try to whisper yes to them. I would not have it any other way. This is not a denial of pain. It is the affirmation that the pain was worth it. That is Amor, Fati. It is the secret of turning your entire life from a random series of events into a work of art. The Last Man. Nietzsche did not just show us the highest goal, the Overman. He also showed us the deepest pit. He showed us the creature we are in danger of becoming. He called it the Last Man. This is Nietzsche's vision of the end of history. It is the opposite of the Overman. It is the final, withered state of humanity, the consequence of a world that has killed God, but has failed to create anything new. It is the ultimate expression of nihilism, not as a violent despair, but as a passive, trivial contentment. The Last Man is the one who has mastered comfort. Imagine a world where all great struggle is over. There are no more great wars, no more great diseases, no more great ideas to fight for. There is only safety, predictability, ease. Nietzsche describes this world in the Spoke Zarathustra. His prophet Zarathustra comes down from the mountain to warn humanity. He offers them the Overman, but the people in the marketplace just laugh at him. They are not interested in greatness. They are not interested in overcoming. They are the last men. Alas, Zarathustra says, the time is coming when man will no longer give birth to a star. A star for Nietzsche is a blazing, creative, new value. The last man cannot create. He can only consume. What is love? What is creation? What is longing? What is a star? So asks the last man, and he blinks. That blink. That is the detail that chills the blood. It is the blink of the cow in the field. Content, passive, unthinking. It is the apathy of a creature that has lost its why. The last man wants only two things: comfort and security. His society has achieved it. They have their little pleasure for the day, and their little pleasure for the night, Nietzsche writes. They have a regard for health. They have left the regions where it was hard to live, for one needs warmth. There is no more distinction between ruler and ruled, strong and weak. Everyone is equal. No shepherd and one herd, he writes. Everybody wants the same. Everybody is the same. Whoever feels different goes voluntarily into the madhouse. Does this sound familiar? The last man is the modern ideal. He is the person who avoids all risk, who lives in a sanitized, predictable world, who pathologizes all suffering, treating it as a disease to be medicated away, rather than a challenge to be overcome. He is the one who scrolls endlessly, seeking the next little pleasure for the day. He is the one who fears conflict, who values being nice above all else, who would rather be comfortable than be great. This is Nietzsche's great warning to us. The death of God, the rise of science, and the triumph of democratic equality. He feared it would not lead to a race of overmen. He feared it would lead to a planet of last men, a herd of docile, happy, uninspired animals. The last man is the enemy of the will to power. He does not want to grow, to overcome, or to struggle. He wants only to be left alone, to be comfortable. The terror of this vision is that the last man is not unhappy. He is, by all measures, perfectly content. He has solved the problem of suffering by simply numbing himself to all great feeling. He feels neither great pain nor great joy. He just exists. Nietzsche's philosophy is a desperate alarm bell. He is trying to wake you up. He is forcing you to choose. As you lie here, drifting towards sleep, ask yourself, are you building your life around comfort or around growth? Are you avoiding pain? Or are you using it to become stronger? Are you blinking? Or are you giving birth to a star? The Overman and the last man are not two types of people. They are the two potentials fighting for your soul in every moment. The genealogy of morality. Masters and slaves. We are taught from the moment we are born what is good and what is evil. Good is to be humble, to be kind, to be compassionate, to help the weak, to turn the other cheek. Evil is to be proud, to be selfish, to be powerful, to dominate, to put yourself first. This seems obvious. It feels like an eternal truth, as solid as the law of gravity. Nietzsche looks at this, and he asks the most dangerous question of all. What if this is a lie? What if our good and evil are not eternal truths, but weapons? Weapons created in a silent, ancient, psychological war. This is the core of his book, On the Genealogy of Morality. He acts as a philosophical archaeologist, digging beneath our values to find their dark, human, all too human origins. He proposes that there are not one, but two fundamental types of morality. First, there was master morality. This was the morality of the ancient aristocrats, the strong, healthy, powerful, noble humans. For them, good was a simple description of themselves. Good meant noble, strong, powerful, beautiful, happy. Bad was what was not them. Bad meant weak, common, pathetic, sick, low. The master morality is a yes to life. It is the morality of self-affirmation. But then, something happened. A revolution. The oppressed, the weak, the slaves, the herd. They were powerless to fight back physically. So they fought back psychologically. They staged what Nietzsche called the slave revolt in morality. Out of their weakness, their fear, and their ressentiment, a bitter, venomous resentment, they created a new table of values. They could not win, so they changed the rules of the game. They took the good of the masters, the pride, the power, the strength, and they relabeled it. They called it evil. And then they took their own qualities, the qualities they had no choice but to possess, and they elevated them. Their weakness they called goodness. Their humility they called virtue. Their inability to take revenge they called forgiveness. Their obedience they called faith. You are strong and powerful, therefore you are evil. We are weak and humble, therefore we are good. And you, the evil ones, will suffer for all eternity, while we, the good, will inherit the earth and be rewarded in heaven. It was, Nietzsche said, an act of the most sublime and venomous revenge. This slave morality, he argues, is what we have inherited. It is the Judeo-Christian morality that defines the West. It is a morality born not from love, but from hate. It is a morality that says no to life, no to our instincts, no to the body, no to strength. It is a morality designed to make the strong feel guilty for their own power. It is a cage. It domesticates the human animal, turning the wolf into a house pet. This is a devastating idea. It asks you to look at your own conscience. When you feel guilty about being ambitious, when you feel bad for succeeding, when you instinctively self-sabotage, is that God speaking, or is it the echo of an ancient psychological poison? Nietzsche is not saying we should be cruel. He is not saying be evil. He is saying we must transcend both. We must move beyond good and evil. He is asking us to stop judging the world through the lens of a morality born of resentment, and to start creating values born from a yes to life. He is asking us to question the very foundation of our goodness. It is a thought that, once heard, is impossible to unhear. When you feel pity, Is it a pure virtue? Or is it, as Nietzsche suggested, a subtle way of feeling superior, a way of enjoying the suffering of another? This is the danger of his philosophy. It takes the solid ground beneath your feet and reveals that it was never solid at all. The three Metamorphoses. We have spoken of the Overman. We have spoken of the journey. But what does this journey feel like from the inside? In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche gives us a beautiful poetic map. It is the story of how the human spirit transforms itself, how it evolves from a creature of burden to a creator of meaning. He called it the three Metamorphoses of the spirit. He says the spirit first must become a camel. The camel is the spirit of duty, of reverence. It is the beast of burden. It is strong, patient, and filled with awe for tradition. The camel kneels down in the desert and asks, "What is my heaviest burden?" It wants to be tested. It wants to prove its strength. The camel loads itself up with the heaviest weights it can find, the thou shalts of society, the ancient rules of morality and religion, the expectations of its family, the guilt of its ancestors. It carries the weight of, I must. This is the spirit of the good soldier, the dutiful student, the obedient child. It is a necessary stage of discipline. You must learn to bear weight before you can be free of it. Many people live and die as camels, strong, respected, but never ever free. But, Nietzsche says, in the loneliest desert, carrying this impossible load, the spirit undergoes its second metamorphosis. The camel transforms into a lion. The lion is the spirit of pure rebellion. The lion is the sacred no. Its defining phrase is I will. The lion wanders into the desert and finds a great, glittering dragon. This dragon is the ultimate enemy. Its name is Thou Shalt, and on every single one of its golden scales, a different rule is written. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt love thy neighbor. Thou shalt be humble. The camel would have bowed before this dragon, but the lion attacks it. The lion must destroy these values. It must tear down the old prison. It must conquer its own freedom. It is a necessary act of violent liberation. It is the spirit of the teenager rebelling, the atheist rejecting God, the revolutionary. But the lion has a problem. A lion, for all its destructive strength, cannot create new values. It can only say no. It can clear the space, but it cannot build anything new in that space. Its freedom is a freedom from, not a freedom for. And so, in the final, most mysterious, and most difficult transformation, the lion must become a child. Why a child? The child is the spirit of pure creation. The child is innocence. It is a new beginning, a first movement. It is a sacred yes to life. The child doesn't know thou shalt, the camel's duty, or even I will, the lion's rebellion. The child simply is. The child plays. The child is the creator. It builds its own world from its own will, like a wheel rolling of its own accord. It has forgotten the burden of the past. It acts not out of guilt, not out of resentment, but out of a pure, joyful, creative impulse. This is the spirit of the Overman, the one who has the discipline of the camel, the courage of the lion, and the creative innocence of the child. As you lie here, think about where you are on this path. Are you a camel, carrying the weight of what others expect? Are you a lion, angry and rebellious, defined only by what you are against? Or are you learning to play? Are you learning to forget the dragon and build your own world? The journey is not to destroy. That is only the second step. The final journey is to create. The Apollonian and the Dionysian, inside every human soul, Inside all of life, Nietzsche would say, two great opposing forces are at war. They are two gods, locked in a struggle that is both terrifying and beautiful. He reached back to the ancient Greeks to name them. First there is Apollo. Apollo is the god of the sun, of light, of reason, of order. He is the god of dreams, but not the feverish, chaotic dreams. He is the god of the beautiful, coherent dream. He is the force that builds walls, that draws lines, that creates form. He is the god of the individual. He is the principle of individuation, the force that separates you from me, that gives you a name, a face, an identity. He is the sculptor who takes a chaotic block of marble and imposes form. He is the cool, rational mind. Our society, our cities, our schedules, our sciences, they are all temples built in the name of Apollo. And then there is his opposite, his shadow, Dionysus. Dionysus is the god of the vine, of wine, of intoxication, of chaos. He is the god of the loss of self. If Apollo builds walls, Dionysus tears them down. If Apollo is the dream, Dionysus is the ecstatic, terrifying frenzy. He is the primal, pulsing, animalistic energy of life itself. He is the force that reminds you that your precious individuality is just an illusion, that you are, in fact, part of a single, chaotic, pulsing unity of existence. He is the god of music, not the structured melody, but the pounding, hypnotic rhythm that makes you lose yourself in the crowd, in the dance. He is the god of primal pain and primal joy. Nietzsche's first great insight was that the ancient Greeks, whom we see as so rational, understood this. They knew you could not have one without the other. He said the pinnacle of human art, Greek tragedy, was born from the marriage of these two forces. On the stage, you have the Apollonian heroes, Oedipus, Prometheus. They have clear dialogue, beautiful forms, individual stories. That is Apollo. But in the orchestra pit, there was the chorus. The chorus was pure Dionysus. They were a screaming, chanting, unified mass, singing of the raw, primal suffering of the god. The Greek tragedy, Nietzsche said, was the moment where the beautiful Apollonian individual, the hero, is destroyed. He is ripped apart by the chaotic Dionysian fate. And in watching this destruction, in watching the individual dissolve back into the primal chaos, the audience felt a strange, terrible joy. They felt a metaphysical comfort in being reminded that, while individuals are destroyed, the eternal primal life force of Dionysus is indestructible. Then, Nietzsche said, a philosopher came along and ruined everything. His name was Socrates. Socrates, with his relentless logic and his know thyself, declared war on Dionysus. He argued that reason alone was the path to the good. He killed tragedy. He turned the world into a cold, logical Apollonian library. We are the children of Socrates. We live in a world that is all Apollo, all the time. We are obsessed with order, productivity, data, and control. We are terrified of our own Dionysian nature. We are terrified of losing control, of intense emotion, of the dark, chaotic, messy parts of being human. We pathologize the frenzy. We medicate the chaos. We have built a clean, well-lit, logical prison for our souls. But Dionysus, he cannot be killed. Nietzsche warned that a culture that represses its Dionysian side does not destroy it. It merely turns it toxic. The chaos doesn't go away. It just festers in the basement. It erupts as senseless violence, as addiction, as mindless consumerism, as a profound, hollow sense of meaninglessness. Nietzsche's plea, his philosophy, is a desperate attempt to bring Dionysus back. He is not asking us to choose chaos over order. He is asking for balance. He is asking us to be strong enough to face the chaos, to dance with it. A true life is not the triumph of Apollo. It is not the surrender to Dionysus. It is the beautiful, terrifying, and sacred dance between them.
Perspectivism. There are no facts. What if the truth you hold, the truth you would argue for, fight for, and perhaps even die for, is not the truth? What if it is not a fact? What if it is just a view from a window? A view you have been staring at for so long you have forgotten it is a window, and you have come to believe it is the entire world. This is the razor's edge of Nietzsche's most radical idea, perspectivism. He gave it to us in a short, explosive note. There are no facts, only interpretations. Let this sink into the quiet. No facts. This is not a statement about politics. It is a statement about everything. He is attacking the very concept of objective truth itself, the idea that there is a God's eye view of reality, a single correct way the world is, independent of any observer. His argument is simple and devastating. To know something, to see something, you must see it from a perspective. You cannot see a statue from all sides at once. You cannot see it from no perspective. You must see it from this angle here where you are standing, or from that angle over there. Each view is real, but neither view is the complete truth of the statue. Truth, for Nietzsche, is the same. Every truth we have, our science, our morality, our religion, our sense of self, is an interpretation. It is a view from a particular human perspective, shaped by our needs, our language, our biology, our history, and above all, our will to power. Our interpretations are not a passive reflection of the world. They are an active imposition of meaning onto chaos. We do not discover facts, we create them. A scientific truth is an interpretation that serves our will to control and predict nature. A moral truth is an interpretation that serves a group's will to organize and survive. Now this is where the mind recoils. It sounds like madness. It sounds like he's saying nothing is true and all opinions are equal. But that is a lazy, relativistic last man interpretation. Nietzsche despised that idea. He was not a relativist. He was a perspectivist. He did not believe all interpretations are equal. He believed some are better than others, some are stronger, some are healthier, some are more comprehensive, some are more life-affirming. The goal is not to have no perspective. That is impossible. The goal is to have many. The weak mind, he said, is the one that clings desperately to one interpretation. The zealot, the fanatic, the person who needs the truth because they are terrified of chaos. The strong mind, the mind of the Overman, the free spirit, is the one who can endure multiple, even contradictory perspectives. It is the mind that can, as he put it, have eyes all around. It is an invitation to be more intellectually flexible, more curious, more humble, and more honest. Think about your own certainties, your deepest held beliefs about politics, about religion, about good and bad people. As you lie here, ask yourself, is that a fact or is it an interpretation? Is it an interpretation you learned from your parents, from your culture? Is it an interpretation that serves your need for comfort, your need to feel superior, your need to belong to the herd? The psychological impact of this idea is dizzying. It removes the comfort of absolute certainty. It takes away the solid ground of I am right and you are wrong. But it also gives you an incredible freedom. It is the freedom to stop being a prisoner of your own window and to start walking around the house. The highest mind is not the one who has found the truth. It is the one who can endure the most interpretations. The abyss, gazing back. You have heard the warning. It is one of Nietzsche's most famous and most chilling. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. This first part is straightforward. It is practical, psychological advice. When you dedicate your life to fighting an enemy, when you obsess over a hateful ideology or a cruel person, you begin to adopt their tactics. You become what you behold. You become paranoid. You become cruel. You become obsessed with power. You become a mirror of the very thing you set out to destroy. But it is the second half of the aphorism that truly contains the terror. It is the part that moves from psychology to metaphysics. And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. What does this mean? Gazing into an abyss is not just fighting monsters. It is the act of confronting the terrible truths. It is the philosopher confronting nihilism, the meaninglessness of existence. It is the psychologist studying the darkest parts of the human psyche, the capacity for cruelty, the shadow self. It is the scientist confronting the cold, infinite, indifferent universe. At first, you are the subject. The abyss is the object. You are the one looking. It is something out there for you to study, to analyze, to judge. But if you stay there, if you gaze long enough, something changes. The abyss stops being an object. It gazes back. This is not a metaphor. It is a psychological event. It is the moment of terrifying recognition. It is the moment the abyss stops being out there and you realize it is in you. It is the moment the philosopher realizes that nihilism is not a theory, but a presence, and it is his presence. It is the moment the psychologist realizes the capacity for monstrous evil is not in his subjects, it is in him. It is the moment the scientist feels the cold, infinite indifference of space inside his own heart. The abyss, gazing back, is the collapse of the boundary between observer and observed. It is the realization that you are the chaos, you are the darkness, you are the void. This is the ultimate test. Most people, when this happens, break. They go mad, like the madman in the marketplace. Or they run. They run back to the comfort of the herd. They find a simple religion, a rigid ideology, a distracting hobby, anything to unsee what they have seen. They close their eyes and pretend the abyss isn't there, isn't them. This is the true danger of Nietzsche's own philosophy. He is inviting you to gaze into that abyss. He is the abyss gazer par excellence. But the Overman, the free spirit, does not run. The Overman is the one who can endure that gaze, the one who can see the monster, the void, the chaos inside himself, and not be consumed by it. He is the one who can say, yes, this too is part of me. This too is part of life, and I affirm it. I will integrate it. I will use this darkness, this tension, to create. As you lie here in the dark, you are in a safe, quiet abyss. You can feel the shadows of your own mind, the fears, the regrets, the monsters you keep locked away. Do not be afraid of them. The goal is not to avoid the abyss. The goal is not to defeat it. The goal is to see it, to be seen by it, and to have a spirit strong enough and deep enough to hold it. The discipline of suffering. We are a culture that fears pain. We have built an entire world designed to eliminate it. We see suffering as an error, a failure, a disease, a sign that something has gone wrong. We treat it with medication, with distraction, with philosophies of comfort. We are all, in our own way, seeking the last man's little pleasure for the day. Nietzsche looked at this, and he felt nothing but contempt. He saw this flight from pain as a flight from life. For him, suffering was not a problem. It was not a sign of failure. It was a tool. It was a discipline. He wrote, "The discipline of great suffering. Do you not know that it is this discipline alone that has created all enhancements of man so far? All enhancements, all growth, all greatness." He uses the metaphor of a bow. How do you make a strong bow? You cannot. You must find a strong piece of wood, and then you must bend it. You must apply immense, terrible, sustained pressure. You must create tension. That tension, that state of being bent to the breaking point, is suffering. A human spirit without tension, without suffering, is a slack, useless bow. It has no power. It cannot launch an arrow. It cannot create. Nietzsche, who was sick for most of his adult life, who lived in constant pain, who was plagued by loneliness and misunderstanding, he did not waste his suffering. He used it. He saw it as the very thing that gave him the perspective to see what others could not. His pain was the tension that allowed him to shoot his arrows, his ideas, beyond his own time. This is the meaning of his most famous and most misused line: "What does not kill me makes me stronger." This is not a cheerful platitude. It is not an optimistic pat on the back. It is a brutal, cold description of a psychological process. When you encounter an obstacle, a trauma, a great pain, it is a force that is trying to kill you. It is trying to break you. If it succeeds in breaking you, you are weaker. You are resentful, you are afraid. But if you fight it, if you metabolize it, if you force your spirit to grow in order to overcome it, you are not the same as you were. You have incorporated that force. You have taken its power. You are literally stronger. You have turned the poison into medicine. We, on the other hand, have been taught the morality of pity. We see someone suffering, and our first instinct is to comfort them, which often means telling them to stop the painful process. We try to remove the tension. We try to make them happy. Nietzsche saw this as profoundly cruel. He called it the philosophy of weariness. It is the desire to stop growth, to stop life, because growth hurts. This idea reframes your entire relationship with your own darkness. As you lie here, think about the pain in your life, the ache of loneliness, the sting of failure, the anxiety about the future. Your first instinct is to run, to turn on the light, to pick up your phone, to numb it, to make it go away. What if, just for this moment, you did not run? What if you sat with it? What if you looked at it? What if you asked it not "Why are you here?" but "What are you trying to teach me? What tension are you trying to build in me? What kind of bow are you trying to make of my soul?" Do not pray for a life without pain. That is a prayer for the life of the last man. Pray for the strength of the bow, the strength to bear the tension that is required to create a star. The critique of the morality of pity. In our modern world, we have elevated one emotion to the level of the highest virtue, pity, or, as we now call it, compassion. It is the one virtue that no one is allowed to question. To be a good person is to feel pity for the suffering of others. To act on this pity is the foundation of our ethics. It is the engine of our charity and our social systems. Nietzsche looked at this, and he saw a sickness, a weakness disguised as a virtue, a philosophy of decay. This is one of his most uncomfortable, most challenging critiques. He asks us to look underneath this virtue. What is pity, really? When you feel pity for someone, what is the psychological event? You are observing their suffering. You are, for a moment, feeling it with them. But is that all? Nietzsche argued that pity is a subtle, disguised expression of the will to power. It is a way of feeling superior. When you pity someone, you are implicitly saying, "Look at you, so weak, so broken, so unfortunate, and look at me, so strong, so fortunate, so good, that I can afford to reach down and help you." Pity, he said, multiplies suffering. First, there is the suffering of the person who is in pain. Then, there is your suffering as you share it. The sum of misery in the world has just increased. But worse, he argued, pity is debilitating to the one who is suffering. It is not an act of strength. It is an act of contempt. When you pity someone, you are not challenging them. You are not respecting them. You are not seeing them as a strong spirit capable of overcoming their own pain. You are treating them as a pathetic victim. You are, in effect, robbing them of the opportunity to use their suffering as a tool for growth, the discipline of great suffering we spoke of. By offering them comfort, by making it better, you are encouraging their weakness. You are keeping them weak. You are turning them into an object of your own virtue. This, he said, is the morality of the herd. The herd fears all great pain, and so it tries to soften everyone. It files down the sharp edges of life. It creates a society of comfortable, medicated, pitied patience, but not a society of strong, creative, resilient spirits. He contrasted pity with what he called real love. Real love, for Nietzsche, is not about feeling bad for someone. Real love is tough. Real love is seeing the potential, the Overman, inside the other person. And because you see that potential, you refuse to indulge their weakness. Real love is the friend who does not just agree with you, but who challenges you. The one who tells you the hard truth. The one who, when you are suffering, does not just say, "Poor you," but says, "I know you are strong enough to use this. Do not waste this pain." This is the love of a creator, not a comforter. This is a devastating critique. It forces you to question your own goodness. The next time you feel that surge of pity, that automatic instinct to help, ask yourself, is this act coming from a place of genuine strength? Am I trying to help this person grow? Or am I coming from a place of weakness? Am I just trying to stop their suffering because I am too weak to look at it? Am I just trying to feel virtuous? Am I in fact holding them down? Nietzsche's philosophy is not an argument for cruelty. It is an argument for a higher kind of kindness. It is the kindness that does not offer a sedative, but instead offers a hammer and the courage to use it. The free spirit, between the camels, the lions, and the children. There is a transitional state, a rare, almost invisible figure who walks alone. Nietzsche called this figure the Freigeist, the free spirit. The free spirit is the one who has begun to wake up from the dream of the herd. He is the one who has felt the first terrible suspicion that the values he was taught, the truths he inherited, might be hollow. This is the spirit that is beginning the great detachment. The first step is a no. It is the act of pulling away. The free spirit must, as Nietzsche described, untie himself from everything, from his family, from his homeland, from his religion, from his good and evil. This is not a physical act of leaving. It is a psychological one. It is the beginning of a profound, chilling loneliness. The free spirit is the one who dares to stop belonging. We are, by nature, herd animals. Our deepest instinct is to agree, to conform, to be part of the group. Our morality is the morality of we. The free spirit is the one who begins to cultivate the I. This, Nietzsche says, is a process fraught with danger. It is a sickness, a fever. The first thing the free spirit feels is not joy, but disgust. He looks at the herd he just left, the marketplace of ordinary life, and he is repulsed. He sees their triviality, their shallow comforts, their unthinking obedience. He becomes a lion. He roars. He criticizes. He mocks. This is a necessary stage, but it is also a trap. Many who attempt to be free get stuck here. They become bitter contrarians, defined only by what they are against. Their freedom is just another, smaller cage of resentment. The true free spirit must go further. He must overcome his own disgust. He must move beyond the no. He must learn to be alone. He leaves the marketplace and wanders into his own desert. And in this desert, he begins the quiet, terrifying work of self-examination. He takes the hammer of his philosophy, and he begins to tap on all the idols of truth, of morality, of God. But the final and most difficult idols to strike are the ones inside. He must question himself, his own I, his own most cherished beliefs. He asks, why do I believe this? Is it true, or is it just comfortable? Is it my idea, or is it an idea I inherited, like furniture in a house I never chose? The free spirit is the ultimate experimenter. He lives his life not as a believer, but as a test. He tries on different perspectives, like masks. He says, what if I believe this for a day? How would the world look? He is no longer afraid of good or evil. He is beyond them. He is only interested in what is life-affirming versus what is life-denying. This process creates a new kind of health, a great health, a spirit that is so strong, so flexible, it can endure the abyss. It can think the most terrible thoughts and not be broken. It can hold contradictions. It can laugh at its own seriousness. The free spirit is the prelude to the Overman. He is the caterpillar, dissolving in the chrysalis, waiting to be reborn as the child. This is not a path for everyone. Nietzsche was clear about this. It is a path for the few. It is a path that demands everything. As you lie here, you are in your own desert. The world is asleep. You are alone with these thoughts. Can you feel that great health in you? The part of you that is not the herd, the part of you that is not your job, not your name, not your past, the part of you that is just free. This, Nietzsche whispers, is the only part of you that truly matters. This is the seed. This is the star. The herd instinct. Why is it so hard to be a free spirit? Why is the pull of conformity so overwhelmingly strong? Nietzsche gives a simple, biological, and brutal answer. The herd instinct. We are not lions. We are not eagles. We are by nature herd animals. We are sheep. For hundreds of thousands of years, survival depended on one thing: belonging. To be different was to be dead. The one who wandered off from the tribe was picked off by the predator. The one who questioned the elder's wisdom was exiled, which was a death sentence. Survival required obedience. It required us to be predictable. It required us to be equal. This ancient primal fear, this command to be like the others, is not in your mind. It is in your blood. It is in your bones. It is the oldest instinct you have. Your conscience, your guilt. Nietzsche would say, this is not the voice of God. It is the voice of the herd, whispering inside your skull. When you feel anxiety about standing out, when you lower your voice, even when you know you are right, when you buy the things you are supposed to buy, when you live the life you are supposed to live, that is the herd instinct, ensuring your safety. The herd, he said, does not value greatness. It values utility. It does not want innovators, creators, or overmen. It wants docile, useful, predictable members. The herd, therefore, creates a herd morality. This morality is designed to tame the strong, to domesticate the beasts of prey that might live among us. How does it do this? It takes the qualities of the herd, and it calls them virtues. Obedience is called faith. Weakness is called goodness. Fear is called humility. The inability to take revenge is called forgiveness. And above all, the desire for equality is called justice. The herd hates the exception. It fears the individual. It despises the one who climbs higher, because that person reminds the herd of its own mediocrity. So, it pulls them down. You are too proud. You are too ambitious. You are selfish. Selfish is the herd's ultimate insult. But what, Nietzsche asks, is selfishness? Is it not simply the act of listening to your own will instead of the will of the group? We live today in the ultimate triumph of the herd. We have created a global society that values above all safety, comfort, and not offending. We are so terrified of being different that we go voluntarily into the madhouse, as Zarathustra said. We self-censor. We round off our own sharp edges so that we fit smoothly into the group. The psychological cost is yourself. You are not your true self. You are a performance. You are a mask that you have worn for so long. You have forgotten it is a mask. Nietzsche's philosophy is a call to war against this instinct. He is inviting you to commit the ultimate sin. He is inviting you to leave the herd. To become an individual is to declare war on the deepest, oldest part of your own brain. It is to choose to be unsafe in order to be real. As you lie here, feel the pull of that instinct, the warm, comfortable, safe feeling of agreeing, of belonging, and then feel the other thing. The small, quiet voice beneath the herd's voice, the one that whispers, "This is not me. I am more than this. I want to be free." That is the free spirit. That is the Overman struggling to be born. We're halfway through this journey. Maybe you've closed your eyes, but your mind is still learning. Subscribe now and stay with us for what's coming next. The Revaluation of All Values. This is the great project, the central, terrifying, and explosive goal of Nietzsche's entire philosophy. It is not just to criticize, it is not just to observe, it is not just to tear down, it is to rebuild. He called it the Umwertung aller Werte, the revaluation of all values, or, more accurately, the transvaluation of all values. It is the most ambitious project a philosopher has ever proposed. He argued that for 2,000 years, Western humanity has been living under the shadow of a single moral system, the Judeo-Christian slave morality, a morality, as we explored, that was born of ressentiment, a morality that says no to life, a morality that elevates weakness, suffering, and pity, and condemns strength, pride, and joy. This morality, he said, has poisoned us. It has made us sick. It has created the human animal that is ashamed of its own instincts, a creature at war with its own body, a being that feels guilty for the very act of living. This morality has failed. Its foundation, God, is dead, and we are now living in the chaos that follows, nihilism. We are clinging to the echo of a morality whose source is gone. So, what now? The revaluation of all values is Nietzsche's answer. It is the process of taking that entire table of good and evil and turning it upside down. It is to have the courage to say, what if good is not humility, but pride, a genuine noble pride in one's own power and one's own creations? What if good is not pity, but strength? The strength to endure suffering and use it, and the strength to respect others enough to let them do the same. What if good is not self-denial, but self-affirmation? The joyful, innocent yes of the child, the Overman, who loves his own fate, his Amor Fati. What if good is not equality, but greatness? The pathos of distance, the courage to climb higher, to create a star, to become an exception, not to rule the herd, but to inspire it from a distance. What if good is not peace, but struggle? The will to power as a creative, overcoming, joyful tension. This is not a call for anarchy or barbarism. This is not the blonde beast running wild. That is the most primitive, crude interpretation. This is a call for a new nobility, a nobility of the spirit. It is the attempt to create a morality that is life-affirming, instead of life-denying. This is the task of the philosopher of the future, the task of the Overman, but it is also your task, right now, in your own life. The revaluation of all values is not just a grand historical event, it is a personal one. It is the moment you stop and question a guilt you feel. It is the moment you stop and question a duty you are fulfilling. It is the moment you ask, is this value that I am upholding serving life? Is it making me stronger, nobler, more creative, more joyful? Or is it serving decay? Is it making me weaker, smaller, more resentful, more afraid? This is the hammer in your own hands. As you drift in this quiet, reflective space, you are free from the gaze of the herd. No one is watching. No one is judging. You can, just for a moment, revalue. What if your greatest sin was actually your greatest virtue waiting to be claimed? What if your deepest flaw was just your strength seen through the eyes of the herd? This is the revaluation. It is the most dangerous and the most liberating thought. Nihilism as a starting point. We have spoken of the abyss. We have spoken of God is dead. Now we must name the psychological state that arises from this event. It is the shadow that covers the modern world. Nietzsche called it nihilism, from the Latin nihil, nothing, the belief in nothing. This is the central anxiety of our time. It is the feeling, perhaps one you have felt in the deepest quiet of the night, when all your distractions are gone, that nothing matters. It is the suspicion that all our striving, all our loving, all our suffering is ultimately pointless. It is the realization that the universe does not care about you. It is the collapse of meaning. This, Nietzsche said, is the uncanniest of all guests, the one standing at the door. It is the inevitable consequence of God is dead. For 2,000 years, our morality, our purpose, our reason for being was guaranteed by a divine plan. Now the plan is gone. The values that upheld us have been revealed as hollow, and we are left with nothing. This is the darkest point in Nietzsche's philosophy, but this is also where he makes his most crucial turn. He tells us not to be afraid of this guest. He tells us to welcome him, because Nietzsche understood that nihilism is not one thing. It is a process. It has two distinct forms. First, there is passive nihilism. This is the nihilism of the last man. This is the spirit that, upon realizing nothing matters, simply gives up. It is the cosmic shrug. It is the descent into cynicism, apathy, and the pursuit of trivial comfort. If nothing matters, why try? Why struggle? Why feel? Let's just be comfortable. Let's just find little pleasures. This, for Nietzsche, was the ultimate no to life. It is the philosophy of exhaustion. It is the end of humanity. But then, there is active nihilism. This is the nihilism of the lion. This is the spirit that, upon realizing the old values are hollow, says good. It is a sign of strength. It is the belief that nothing matters. Therefore, I am free. Active nihilism is not a state of despair. It is an action. It is the philosophy of the hammer. It is the joyful, courageous act of destroying the old, hollow, life-denying idols. It is the lion tearing down the thou shalt dragon. It is the necessary, violent clearing of the ground so that something new can be built. We are all living in an age of passive nihilism. You can feel it in the air. The cultural weariness, the irony, the deep existential boredom we try to fill with noise, with scrolling, with endless consumption. We are the last men, blinking. Nietzsche's entire philosophy is an attempt to turn us from passive nihilists into active nihilists. He is trying to wake you up. He is trying to show you that this feeling of meaninglessness is not a curse. It is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It is the no that must come before the sacred yes. You must have the strength to endure the void. You must have the courage to become the void, to stand in a world with no pre-given meaning and not collapse. Nihilism is not the destination. It is the desert. It is the necessary, terrifying, and empty space that the human spirit must cross if it is to stop being a creature and become a creator. Become who you are. Become what you are. This phrase, which Nietzsche borrowed from the ancient Greek poet Pindar, seems like a paradox. How can you become what you already are? It sounds at first like the kind of simple advice you hear everywhere. Be yourself. Be true to yourself. But this is not what Nietzsche meant. In fact, he meant the very opposite. Be yourself implies that yourself is a finished, static thing, a little core of identity that you just have to find and express. For Nietzsche, this self that you think you are is a joke. Your current self is an accident. It is a chaotic collection of masks you have been given, habits you have inherited, fears you have absorbed, and herd instincts you have mistaken for your own personality. The self you are right now is not you. It is a performance. It is the camel loaded down with the burdens of others. Become what you are is therefore not an invitation to accept yourself. It is the most difficult command in all of philosophy. It is an invitation to create yourself. Imagine you are a sculptor, and you are also the block of marble. The block of marble is your potential. It is the raw, unique, unchangeable material of your being. It is your deep, primal instincts, your core will to power, your demon. This is the what you are. But this raw material is not yet a work of art. It is just a rock. The becoming is the work of the sculptor. It is the active, painful, and lifelong process of carving. It is the art of using the hammer on yourself. This means, above all, the act of pruning. To become who you are, you must first have the courage to say no to 1,000 things that are not you. No to the voice of the herd that wants you to be safe and equal. No to the distractions that drain your will. No to the masks that get you approval. No to the parts of your personality that are just inherited fears. You must carve away everything that is not essential. This is a creative act. It is not finding yourself. It is building yourself. It is the act of imposing a style on your own character. It is the work of integrating all your warring parts, your light and your abyss, your Apollo and your Dionysus, into a single, coherent, willed whole. This is the ultimate responsibility. It moves you beyond good and evil. The question is no longer, am I a good person? The question is, am I a work of art? This is why most people never become who they are. Because it is terrifying, it is lonely. It requires you to be both the marble and the chisel, to feel the pain of the carving. It is far easier to remain an uncarved block, to be yourself, to be the accident that your culture and your past have made you. As you lie here in the quiet, you can feel the distinction. You can feel the self that is just a collection of habits and fears, the mask, and you can feel the potential underneath, the raw, powerful, unshaped stone. Nietzsche's command is not to find that stone. It is to pick up the chisel. Do not die as a raw block of marble. Do not die as a copy of someone else. Die as a masterpiece and your own. Become what you are. What does not kill me makes me stronger. This is, without question, the most famous line Nietzsche ever wrote. It has been used on gym posters, in action movies, by self-help gurus. It has been turned into the ultimate cheerful, optimistic cliché. Don't worry, it will be okay. This will make you stronger. This is the opposite of what he meant. Nietzsche's phrase is not a comfort. It is not an optimistic pat on the back. It is not a guarantee. It is a cold, brutal, biological description of a process that can and often does fail. Let us look at it again. That which does not kill me makes me stronger. He is describing a battle, a force, a suffering, a trauma, an obstacle, a great pain is trying to kill you. It is a poison. It is a weight that is trying to crush your spirit. Now, two things can happen. First, the force can win. It may not kill your body, but it can break your spirit. It can kill your will. In this case, you are not stronger. You are weaker. You are broken. You become bitter, afraid, resentful. You become a slave, filled with ressentiment. The poison has won. The phrase has failed. You were not killed, but you were not made stronger. You were just diminished. The second possibility is that the force fails to break you. But why does it fail? It fails only because you, from your own internal will to power, have generated a counterforce. It fails because your spirit met that obstacle, wrestled with it, and had to grow in order to overcome it. The strength is not a magical gift given by the suffering. The strength is the byproduct of your response to the suffering. It is the scar tissue, which is stronger than the original skin. It is the will you were forced to exert. It is the discipline of suffering in action. You have not just survived the poison, you have metabolized it. You have turned it into medicine. You have taken its power and made it your own. This is what he meant. We, in our culture of the last man, have taught ourselves to avoid this entire process. Our motto is, that which might kill me, I should avoid at all costs. We are terrified of the risk. We seek to eliminate the chance of being killed, and in doing so, we have eliminated the opportunity of becoming stronger. We have by default chosen weakness. We have chosen comfort over strength. This phrase, then, is not a comfort, it is a challenge. It is a brutal question that you must ask yourself after the battle is over, when you have been through a great pain and you are not killed. The question is, what did you do with it? Did you use it? Did you metabolize it? Did you force yourself to grow? Or did you just survive? Did you just endure it? And are you now living as a victim, smaller, more afraid, and more resentful than before? The obstacle itself does not make you stronger. Your will, forged against the obstacle, is the only thing that can. The philosopher with a hammer. How do you picture a philosopher? You probably see an old man in a comfortable chair, perhaps with a pipe, stroking his beard. He is thinking in abstractions. He is building great complex systems of thought. He is quiet. He is gentle. He is harmless. Nietzsche looked at this image, and he felt disgust. This was the philosopher as a last man. He rejected this role. He did not see himself as a system builder. He saw himself as a diagnostician, as a physician for a sick culture. He gave himself a new name, the philosopher with a hammer. Now, when you hear this, you imagine a sledgehammer. You imagine a lion, a brute, smashing everything to pieces. But this is, again, a misunderstanding. The hammer he spoke of was not a sledgehammer, it was a tuning fork. He describes the process himself. He takes this hammer and he taps on the great idols of humanity. An idol for him is an eternal truth, a value that has been held up as sacred, timeless, and divine. He taps on the idol called truth. He taps on the idol called morality. He taps on the idol called reason. He taps on the idol called God. He taps as a doctor taps on a patient's chest, and he listens. And what does he hear? He listens for a sound. Some idols, he says, might ring true. They are solid. He found very, very few of these. But most of them, the vast majority, ring hollow. He hears a hollow rumbling sound. He finds that they are empty. They are wind-filled. He finds that these eternal truths, which we have worshipped for centuries, are just old, revered, beautiful lies. This is his entire philosophical method. His hammer is not for brute destruction, it is for diagnosis. He taps on good and evil, and he hears the hollow, cavernous sound of ressentiment. He taps on objective truth, and he hears the hollow sound of no facts, only interpretations. He taps on God, and he hears the hollow silence of God is dead. He taps on pity, and he hears the hollow sound of weakness, of contempt for life. His philosophy is the record of this tapping. He is the physician telling the West, your idols are hollow, your gods are dead, your values are sick because they are life-denying. He is the untimely man, the one who has come too early to announce the sickness that everyone else is still pretending is health. This is the end of the old philosophy, the philosophy of belief. And it is the beginning of the philosophy of the future. His final invitation is to pass the hammer to you, to stop believing, to stop worshiping, and to start listening, to take this hammer and tap on your own idols, the things you hold sacred, your political beliefs, your goodness, your identity, and to have the terrifying courage to listen for the hollow sound and, like the lion, to smash what is empty, to clear the way for the child, to clear the way for creation. The sickness of bad conscience. What is this voice inside your head? The one that whispers, in the quiet, I am not good enough. The one that floods you with shame for a mistake you made 10 years ago. The one that makes you feel guilty for just being. Where did this voice come from? We were taught it is the voice of God, or the voice of conscience. Nietzsche, in his Genealogy of Morality, gives a different and terrifying answer. He says it is not a divine voice, it is a sickness, it is the sound of an animal torturing itself. He called it bad conscience. To understand it, you must imagine the moment humanity was forced into society. Before this, we were animals, we were beasts of prey. We had instincts for aggression, for wandering, for struggle, for the raw outward expression of the will to power. But then, we were trapped. We were forced into the cage of the community, of peace. We built walls, we created rules, all those animal instincts, all that energy. It could no longer be discharged outwardly. The instinct for freedom, for cruelty, for hunting, it was forbidden. So, where did it go? Nietzsche's terrible insight is that it did not disappear. It simply turned inward. Humanity began to attack itself. This, he says, is the origin of the soul. It is the origin of guilt. It is bad conscience. It is the human animal, unable to attack its enemies. So it begins to attack itself. We invented an inner world just so we could have a space to torture ourselves. Imagine a wolf locked in a tiny iron cage. It cannot hunt. It cannot run. It cannot be what it is. It is filled with a terrible, frustrated energy. So it begins to pace, to howl, to chew on its own leg, to tear itself apart. We are that wolf. The cage is civilization. The self-mutilation is guilt. This sickness, bad conscience, is the most profound illness humanity has ever endured. We are the only creature that feels sinful, the only creature that hates its own instincts. The priest, the moralist. Nietzsche saw them not as healers, but as zookeepers. They are the ones who profit from this sickness. They see the self-torturing animal, and instead of freeing it, they validate its pain. They tell the wolf, yes, you are bad. Your instincts are evil, but if you obey me, I can offer you a cure. I can offer you that forgiveness. They do not heal the wound, they just manage the infection forever. The Overman is the one who finally breaks this cycle. He is the one who stops this self-torture. He is the one who hears that voice of guilt and recognizes it, not as the voice of God, but as the howl of a caged animal. And he opens the cage. He stops turning his will to power inward against himself, and he turns it outward toward creation. The value of the enemy. We are taught to love our neighbors and to love our enemies. We are taught that the ideal state is peace, a world with no conflict, no adversaries. Nietzsche looked at this ideal, and he saw the last man blinking in the sun. He saw weakness. He proposed a different, more dangerous idea, the value of a worthy enemy. We must be clear, this is not the enemy of the slave morality. The slave is defined by his enemy, the master, but the slave's enemy is imagined, bloated, and secretly hated. The slave's ressentiment needs an enemy to blame. Nietzsche is talking about the master's enemy. This is an adversary that you respect. This is an opponent that you choose. This is a rival that you fight openly. The master morality, the morality of the strong spirit, does not need an enemy to define itself, but it thrives on one. Why? Because a worthy enemy is a mirror. A worthy enemy is a whetstone. A worthy adversary forces you to become stronger. They test you. They reveal your weaknesses. They demand your absolute best. To struggle against a strong opponent is the fastest path to your own greatness. Think of two master swordsmen. They do not hate each other. They hold a deep, profound respect for each other's skill. In the duel, each pushes the other to the absolute peak of their power. Without the other, neither would be as sharp, neither would be as great. Your enemy defines the scale of your spirit. If you choose small, weak, pathetic enemies, you become small, weak, and pathetic yourself. But if you seek out, or are blessed with, a powerful, intelligent, worthy foe, you are forced to evolve. This, Nietzsche said, is real love. Not the love of pity, but the love of respect. I honor the enemy in you, he would say. In our modern herd society, we have no open enemies. We have only hidden competitors. We have frenemies. We are taught that open conflict is bad. So, all our conflict becomes psychological. It becomes gossip. It becomes ressentiment. We do not say, I will defeat you. We say, you are evil, and we poison them from the shadows. Nietzsche's call is a call to honesty, to courage, to respect the struggle, to have a worthy enemy, is to say yes to the will to power. To not have one is to be the last man, seeking only comfort with no one to challenge you, and therefore no way to grow. You should be proud of your enemy, he wrote. Then the successes of your enemy are your successes also. Do not wish for a life of peace. Do not wish for a world where everyone agrees with you. Wish for a better class of enemy, an enemy that forces you to climb the mountain, an enemy that forces you to become a star. The mask and the true self. You are told again and again, be your true self. Find yourself. You are encouraged to go on a quest, to dig deep beneath all the layers of your personality, to find that core, that real you. What if you don't have one? This is one of the most unsettling implications of perspectivism. There is no God's eye view of reality. There is no God's eye view of you, the self that you cherish, the I that you believe is so solid. Nietzsche suggests it is a fiction, it is a grammatical convenience, it is a mask. In fact, it is a collection of masks. You have a mask that you wear for your parents. You have a mask that you wear for your boss. You have a mask that you wear for your friends. You have a different mask for your lover. You even have a mask that you wear for when you are alone, the mask of the person who is alone in thinking. We are terrified of this idea. We need to believe there is a real me underneath it all, an essence, a soul. Nietzsche asks, why? Why do you need that? We are like an onion. You peel back a layer, the mask of the good employee. You peel back another, the mask of the rebellious child. You peel back another, the mask of the sophisticated intellectual. You keep peeling and peeling and peeling, looking for the center. And when you get to the final layer, there is nothing, just layers. This is not a cause for despair. This is not nihilism. This is the ultimate freedom. If there is no true self, you are not a prisoner of who you are. You are not stuck being the person you were yesterday. You are not defined by your past, by your personality type, by your trauma. These are all just interpretations. These are all just masks. The last man is the one who forgets he is wearing a mask. He believes the mask is him. He is a prisoner of his own accidental identity. But the Overman, the free spirit, is the one who knows he is wearing a mask. And he chooses his mask deliberately. The Overman is an artist. His life is his art. He is not finding himself. He is creating himself every single moment. He asks, who do I will to be in this moment? What mask does this situation require? This is not about being fake. It is about being an artist. The goal is not to be true to yourself. The goal is to become who you are, to build a self so strong, so authentic, so willed, that the mask and the face become one. You are not a fact, you are a process. You are not a noun, you are a verb, and you are not an archaeologist finding yourself. You are the sculptor creating yourself. The promise of the body. For 2,000 years, you have been taught to hate your body. You have been told it is a prison for your soul. You have been told it is base, unclean, sinful. You have been told it is the source of temptation, and that your higher self, your reason, your spirit, must conquer it. This, Nietzsche says, is the greatest and most poisonous lie ever told. It is the revaluation of all values in its starkest form. This lie, this war against the body, is the very core of the slave morality. It was the invention of preachers of death, those who were too weak, too sick, too full in ressentiment to love this life on this earth. So, they invented another one. They invented a heaven, an afterlife, a pure soul, to devalue the only life we have. They made this world the false world, and their imaginary world the true one. Nietzsche asks you to reverse this. He asks you to trust your body. He asks you to see that your conscious thought, the I that you think is in charge, is the smallest, weakest, and most error-prone part of you. It is the servant, but it thinks it is the master, the true, vast, ancient intelligence is your body. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he writes, "The body is a great reason, a multiplicity with one sense, a war and a peace, a herd and a shepherd. This I you speak of, your little reason, is but a tool of your body, a little tool and toy of your great reason. Your body is the great reason. It holds the wisdom of millions of years of evolution, your instincts, your gut feelings, your animal nature. This is the wisdom you should listen to. Your stomach knows more about food than your conscious mind reading a diet book. Your heart knows more about courage than your logic calculating the risks. Your passion, your desire. This is not sin. This is the will to power. This is life itself, affirming its drive to grow and expand. When you feel guilt about your desires, your hunger, your sexuality, your ambition, that is the little reason, the voice of the herd, the voice of the priest, at war with your great reason, the voice of life. To become who you are is to stop listening to the preachers of death and to start listening to the wisdom of your own blood, to stop conquering your instincts and to start orchestrating them like a master artist. Do not seek your soul. Do not seek heaven. Seek the earth. Seek the body. That is where the Overman is born. Your body is your soul. The Great Detachment. What is the true price of freedom? It is not a price you pay in money or in effort. It is a price you pay in belonging. This is the coldest and most necessary journey of the free spirit. Nietzsche called it Die große Loslösung, the great detachment. To become who you are, you must first have the courage to unbecome who you are not. This is the act of untying the ropes, one by one, that hold your ship in the safe, warm, predictable harbor of the herd. Imagine yourself as that ship. For your entire life, it has been tied by thick, heavy ropes. One rope is family expectations. Another is religious dogma. Another is political party. Another is your career identity. Another is what your friends think. The ship is safe. It is good. It is approved. It belongs. But it is not free. It cannot move. The great detachment is the act of taking a knife, and in the dead of night, when no one is watching, silently, one by one, cutting those ropes. This is not the loud, angry rebellion of the lion. This is a cold, quiet, deliberate act of leaving. This is the ultimate sin against the herd instinct. The herd screams against this. To leave is to betray. To detach is to be cold, to be disloyal, to be selfish. This is the test. Can you endure being the bad guy in the story that they tell? Can you endure the profound, chilling loneliness that comes when you stop belonging? Nietzsche describes this as a wandering in the desert. This is Zarathustra, leaving the marketplace and going up the mountain. This is the winter of the soul. You must detach not only from the things you hate, but from the things you love. You must detach from the truths that once comforted you, the goodness you were praised for, the identity that made you feel proud. You must be willing to be nothing, to be no one, to be an empty vessel. We feel the pull against this every single day. The terror of having an opinion that might get you disliked by your group. The deep, warm comfort of just agreeing. The great detachment is the spiritual winter that is required before any new spring can come, because you cannot create your own values while you are still clinging to the old ones. You cannot paint on a canvas that is already full. This loneliness, this coldness, this pathos of distance, this is the only space in which creation is possible. You must be strong enough to endure the cold. You must be strong enough to endure the silence. That comes when you stop listening to the voice of the herd and start, for the first time, listening to your own. This cold, this silence, is the sound of your true self taking its first breath. The danger of truth. We are creatures who need truth. We hunt for it. We build our sciences and our philosophies to find it. We are told, the truth will set you free. We are taught that the will to truth is the highest, noblest human impulse. But what if it is not? What if truth is not your friend? What if the relentless, unconditional will to truth is actually a life-denying impulse? This is a step beyond perspectivism. Perspectivism says there are no facts, only interpretations. This idea asks why. Why are we so obsessed with facts in the first place? Nietzsche saw this as a profound problem. He argued that life requires illusion. Life requires art, myth, metaphor, and beautiful lies in order to live. We have art, he wrote, so that we do not perish of the truth. Imagine life as a beautiful, necessary dream, a grand artistic play. It is full of illusions that give us meaning, purpose, and the will to go on. The illusion of love, the illusion of purpose, the illusion of beauty. These are the things that make life worth living. Now, imagine the truth seeker, the ruthless Socratic logician, the cold-eyed scientist who comes into this beautiful dream, this theater, and starts shining a bright, harsh, cold light everywhere. He shouts, "This is not real. This is just a chemical reaction. This is just a biological impulse. This is illogical. This is a statistical anomaly." The light, the truth, destroys the dream. The will to truth, when taken to its extreme, becomes the enemy of life. It is the impulse of a tired, weak, Socratic spirit, a spirit that cannot endure a chaotic, artistic, ambiguous world. It needs to reduce the world to cold, dead, measurable facts. We are the children of this impulse. We live in a world that is obsessed with data, with analytics, with debunking everything. We have successfully disproved our myths, our magic, and our meaning. And as you look around, are we stronger? Are we happier? Are we healthier? Or are we just the last men, blinking in the cold, logical light with no great loves or great stars to live for? We have perished of the truth. This is the ultimate revaluation. We must revalue truth itself. The question for the Overman is not, is this true? The question is, does this serve life? Does this interpretation make me stronger, healthier, more creative, more affirmative? If an illusion, like art or a great purpose, enhances life, then that illusion, for Nietzsche, is more true than a cold fact that diminishes it. The strong spirit is not a truth seeker. He is an artist, and he is not afraid to use lies, to use masks, to use illusions, to build a more powerful and more beautiful world. The art of forgetting. Your mind is a miracle, and one of its most celebrated powers is its ability to remember. Our entire education system is built on it. We see a good memory as a sign of health, of intelligence. But what if this is a profound mistake? What if the greatest power of your mind, the one that is most essential for life, is the power to forget? Nietzsche was fascinated by this. He argued that forgetting is not a passive failure of memory. It is not a flaw. It is an active, healthy, necessary force. It is, he said, the gatekeeper of the soul. He contrasts us, modern man, with an animal. Imagine a cow in a field. It chews its cud. It is perfectly present. It is not remembering yesterday's anxieties. It is not regretting last week's failure. It is, as he put it, unhistorical. It is perfectly in the now. And because it is in the now, it is happy. It is free. We are the opposite. We are the historical creatures. We are drowning in our memory. We are dragging the entire past with us, like a massive ball and chain. We are defined by our bad conscience, our guilt, our regrets, our traumas. This past, this inability to forget, is what prevents us from acting. You cannot take a single step forward. If you are paralyzed by the memory of your last fall, you cannot live a new day. If you are still reliving yesterday, this is our modern illness. We are saturated with history, with information, with memory. Our digital lives are perfect, eternal archives of every mistake, every awkward photo, every old resentment. We cannot escape our past, and this makes us weak. It makes us cynical. It makes us paralyzed. We have seen everything before, and so we can create nothing new. To be healthy, to be strong. Nietzsche says you must learn to forget. You must will it. You must have the power to shut the doors and windows of your consciousness. You must be able to digest your experiences, to take what you need from them, and then let them go. You must create a clean slate. This is the only way to be truly present. This is the only way to act. This is the only way for the child, the creator, to be born. The child is the one who has forgotten. The child is the one who sees the world as new. Your memory is a tool. It is not you. You need your past to learn, but you must forget your past to live. True strength is not in how much you can remember. It is in how much you have the power to let go. The slow poison of resentment, Ressentiment. There is a poison that you can drink every single day and not know it. It is a poison that you tell yourself is justice. It is a poison that feels good to drink, that feels righteous. Nietzsche gave it a French name to capture its specific flavor, ressentiment. This is not just resentment, which can be a passing anger. Ressentiment is a deep, permanent, venomous state of being. It is the core psychological engine of the slave morality, and it is born from powerlessness. Imagine a man who is wronged, insulted, or humiliated by his superior. He is filled with anger. The master, the strong spirit, would feel a clean anger. He would act, he would fight, or he would leave, or he would forget. The anger would be discharged. It would be honest. But the slave, the man of ressentiment, he is powerless. He cannot act. He fears the consequences. He is weak. So, what happens to that anger? It does not go away. It festers. He denies the anger. He swallows the poison. And in the dark, silent basement of his mind, that poison grows. He broods. He obsesses. He cannot forget. He is defined by his injury. And this is the moment of the slave revolt in morality. This is where the magic trick happens. The man of ressentiment, to soothe his own powerlessness, invents a new morality. He tells himself, that man who hurt me, he is evil. His strength is evil. His power is evil. His pride is evil. And I who am weak, I who am powerless, I who did not fight back, I must be good. This is the psychology of the modern world. It is the psychology of victimhood as a source of moral power. It is the psychology of blame. It is the impulse to find someone else, something outside, to hold responsible for your own condition. The person of ressentiment needs an enemy. He needs to be a victim because that is the only way he can feel righteous. He is an expert at not taking responsibility. He is the absolute opposite of the Overman. The Overman, the spirit who embraces Amor Fati, love of fate, cannot feel ressentiment. The Overman knows that every obstacle, every injury is a necessary part of his own story. He uses it. The man of ressentiment is used by it. As you lie here, search your own heart. Be honest. Where is that poison? Where are you blaming? Where are you clinging to an old injury because it feels just? This is the herd poisoning your will. The first act of the free spirit is to refuse to drink that poison ever again. The desert and the seeker. Where does the free spirit go? After the great detachment, after he has cut the ropes, where does his ship sail? It sails to the desert. The desert for Nietzsche is not a physical place, it is a spiritual one. It is the necessary state of solitude. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, his prophet leaves the marketplace. The marketplace is the world of the herd. It is the world of noise, of buying and selling, of public opinion, of fame. It is the place where everyone is together and everyone is false. It is the world of the last man. Zarathustra goes there, and he tries to speak, but the herd laughs at him. They do not understand him. They think his Overman is a performance, and his wisdom is just another product to be sold. He realizes, here, my voice is not for these ears. So, he must return to his solitude. He must go up the mountain, into the desert. We are terrified of this solitude. We are the herd animals. Our deepest instinct is to be with others. To be alone feels like death. It is the loneliest loneliness that the demon visits. We fill our lives with constant noise, with screens, with music, with conversations, anything to avoid the terrible, vast silence of our own self. We are afraid of what we will find there, or what we will not find. But Nietzsche is clear. You cannot find yourself in the marketplace. You cannot become who you are. In a crowd, the crowd only reflects back to you the masks of the herd. You can only hear the great reason of your body. You can only hear the true voice of your will in the silence. The desert is the only place where the revaluation of all values can happen. It is the only place where you can take out the hammer and tap on your idols without the herd screaming at you to stop. This solitude is not the loneliness of the man of ressentiment. That is the loneliness of the victim who feels abandoned. This solitude is the loneliness of the creator. It is the chosen, willed solitude of the artist, who must be alone in order to paint. It is the loneliness of the free spirit. Nietzsche wrote of himself, "We who are different, we need a new kind of health, a health that is ours. We need a solitude of our own." This is the test. Do you use your loneliness, or are you used by it? Do you flee from the silence, or do you enter it? As a seeker, as you lie here in the quiet of the night, you are not fleeing. You are not distracting yourself. You are in this very moment in your desert. This silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of potential. It is the canvas before the first stroke of paint. Do not be afraid of it. This is where the real work begins. The Great Noon. We have journeyed through the darkest ideas. We have faced the death of God. We have stared into the abyss. We have walked through the desert of nihilism. And now, at the end of this long night, what comes? Is it just more darkness? No. For Nietzsche, the end of this journey, the moment of ultimate transformation, is not a night, it is a noon. He called it der große Mittag, the great noon. What is the great noon? It is the moment on the clock when the sun is at its absolute highest point. It is the moment when all the shadows disappear. Think about that. At dawn, the shadows are long and distorted. At dusk, they are long again. But at noon, the sun is directly overhead. Light is everywhere. Everything is illuminated. There is no in-between. There is no gray. There is no hidden. There is only pure, honest, terrible clarity. This is the symbol for the spirit of the Overman. The Overman is the one who has no shadows. He is the one who has integrated everything. He has faced his abyss and brought it into the light. He has no more bad conscience, no more guilt, no more ressentiment, no more hidden places. He is completely transparent to himself. This is the moment of the greatest danger and the greatest creation. It is at this great noon that the Overman is born. It is at this great noon that the last man finally dies, burned away by the heat of this new sun. It is at this great noon that the soul is finally strong enough to will the eternal recurrence. Because a spirit with no shadows has nothing to regret. He has nothing to hide. He is no longer at war with his past. He is no longer afraid of his future. He is perfectly in the moment. A moment so full of life, so full of yes, that he wills to repeat it forever. This is the final metamorphosis. The camel has died. The lion has died. And the child is born under the light of this great noon. The child who plays, the child who creates, the child who is a sacred yes to all of life. This is not an end. It is the beginning of a new kind of humanity, a humanity that has moved beyond good and evil, a humanity that finds its meaning not in some other world, but here on this earth, a humanity that does not run from life, but affirms it in all its pain and all its joy. As you drift now towards sleep, do not think of the darkness as an end. Think of it as the journey toward your great noon. The shadows of the day are gone. The little truths and little lies are gone. You are in the honest dark. You are preparing for your sun, the sun that casts no shadows, the sun of your own affirmed will. Those who arrive here understand more than words. Leave a word below that captures what you felt tonight and share it with someone who still searches for meaning.